I have to say, I really like that top. That really suits you.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. Well, that's a nice thing to say, Julie.
Oh, you're very bright and colourful today.
I know, so I have to have I have got to have flowers on. Like there's got to be I've always got something to do with flowers. Not well, not 100%, but often I do. Yeah, because flowers are like a huge part of like my thing. Like it just can chat about that another time. But yeah, I've always got either something to do with flowers or something pink on, and I've always got this on as well.
So I knew pink was like a big color for you, but I've never. So like, are flowers? Is that part of your sort of branding as well? Would you use that in your business?
So it comes from. So when I set up my business, I'm a part of my business name is Core, and it comes from Greek mythology. So in Greek mythology, do you know much about Greek mythology?
Not really.
No. So in Greek, so that this is not what we were going to be chatting about today, but in Greek mythology, just to go off on a bit of a tangent already, there's a Greek goddess called Persephone, and her sort of pseudonym, so she's called Persephone, but she's also known as Core. And in Greek mythology, she was taken away from Earth and kind of taken to the underworld to marry, I think, the king of the underworld or something like that. And when she was taken away, the earth went barren, so there was no fertility or anything on the earth. Everything died. But then she came back every spring, and every time she came back every spring, the earth was replenished. And because that's a big thing what I'm about. It's all about like transformation, and spring's my favorite season, and flowers, and just all of that. So there you go. There's something you never knew about me, Julie.
Yeah, that is something new. Well done. And are we still in spring? When does spring end and summer start?
Well, I don't know. We're in Scotland, so never.
Never.
Yeah, never.
Mid July to early August, and that's it.
So anyway, we were going to chat about how to live your best life today, right?
We were.
Hmm.
So I think it's an interesting concept, living your best life. I guess my first question for you is, do you think you're living your best life?
I think, I think I am on purpose. I think I'm doing what I want. And I don't think I'm quite living my best life. I think I'm on a trajectory
to your best life.
Your best life, yeah.
Because I guess there's never an end to that, is there? There's never a right. I've arrived now, and nothing can get any better.
Well, yeah. So well, they say that. So in coaching, we always talk about fulfillment, right? And they say that fulfillment is something that you're striving for right now. So it's not a destination. Fulfillment is, you want to be fulfilled here and now. So you don't want to find fulfillment when you get promoted.
Yes, in the future. Yes.
It's about what is fulfillment for you, and what is it that you need to bring into your life in order that you can be fulfilled right now.
Yeah.
And so it's not about getting there someday. It's about figuring out what is it for you to be fulfilled right now.
Yeah.
And so so when I think about am I living my best life, I think I am fulfilled right now because I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm doing what I love to do. But I just know there's more to come. There's more to come for me.
So it's more like an eager anticipation of how it can be even better in the future, rather than a kind of a yes or no, rather than that being a binary question.
Yeah, well, I think for me, one thing that's really important is having clarity. So being really, really clear about what's important to me, what are my values, what's my purpose, what's my vision, all of those things, and also knowing and understanding where I get in my own ways, where I self-sabotage, but putting all of that together in order that I then, I'm then on that path, and that path is going to help me live my best life. That's the way that.
Yeah. So it's then like conscious creation, isn't it? I think for me, I think that's the secret though, isn't it? To live in your best life is knowing that it's not going to just happen. No. Like no one stumbles on their best life, do they? No one just happens to wake up one morning and everything starts going right.
Well, I'm actually incredibly lucky.
Well, but even that, I mean, I don't think. I think if you look at people where they've had something amazing that's happened to them, like I think a really good example of this is people that have achieved great fame and success overnight, so something, they've been discovered on a TV show or whatever, and they have then all the money in the world and all the success and all the opportunities and all the notoriety. And of course there's negatives that go with that as well, but I guess you're looking outside into that, but you don't necessarily look at people like that and go, wow, they just look so incredibly happy. Like that's not, I just don't think, I think luck is great, but I think a joyful life is around nearly the satisfaction and the knowing that you've got the long-term strategy of creating it for yourself, because you could win the lottery and that would be fantastic. But would your life be any different 10 years later if you don't change anything else? Probably not. Do you know, whereas I think for joy, to really feel joy, you have to feel that it's sustainable. And to make it sustainable, you have to know how to navigate a joyful life.
Yeah, and I think first and foremost, to make that happen, you need to know what joy is for you, because joy is different for everyone, right? And your definition of joy, my definition of joy, someone else's definition of joy, they're all different. So it's so important that you come back to, and I remember talking about this before, about, really being clear, what is it that you want, and, being specific about that, and then taking action that's in alignment with that. And somebody said to me once, yeah, but is that not really selfish? Is it not really selfish to really focus on what you want versus what maybe other people might want? And I'm like, well, no, I don't see that as being selfish, because, if you were to really align with your values, you might have a value around, it could be really important to you to be charitable in things that you do, to help other people, to have social impact, whatever it is, but that still comes back to something that you want, right? So that's still what is important to you and something that you're going to strive for. So I don't think having clarity on what you want is selfish at all. I think it's necessary, because if you don't know what you want and you're not clear on that, you don't ask yourself that question. So it's such a simple question: what do I want? But it's applicable in so many different scenarios, and it's a small question, but it's a big, powerful question.
Absolutely.
When you stop and think about that, and stop and ask yourself, well, what do I want? And it could be, what do I want right now? So when you're in the middle of the worst overwhelm on the planet, right? So when you're really, really overwhelmed and you're not really sure what to do, if you can just have the sense, just stop for a second and just ask yourself, what do I want? Suddenly things can start to become clear and you can figure out a path through it. But equally, it can be, what do I want right now? But it could also be, what do I want this month? What do I want this year? What do I want in my life?
Yeah.
Right? What do you want? Yeah. Because if you don't know what you want in your life, nobody's going to come along and tell you what you should want, right? Yeah. You're the only one that knows. You are the only one that can figure out what is important to me, and therefore, based on that, what is my next step? What action do I need to take that's going to take me closer, to that thing that I've identified that should be important to me?
Yeah, and it's understanding that provides the sat nav, isn't it, for your life? Because without that, without knowing what those steps are and where you're aiming to, people wander aimlessly through life. And I don't have any sense of the percentage of this, but I know that the majority of people are not consciously creating their life. They're not working out what they want. They're not setting themselves goals and then celebrating when they've reached them. And to go back to pick up the point that you said earlier about, you know, people, somebody saying to you, well, is that not selfish to think about what you want? Well, of course it's not, because what you want, so if we link into the joy thing that we talked about just a little bit earlier, the joy is different for everybody, you're right, but the emotion's the same. So what brings you joy is different. But that emotion that you feel and whatever it is that brings you that joy is the same for everybody. And that emotion is massively infectious. So in fact, what you were saying there earlier, it's the absolute opposite of that. So rather than being selfish to find your purpose, your wants, your sat nav, your joy in life, it's actually it's actually a very generous thing to do, because then first of all, you're showing other people how you can create a joyful life and live your best life, but also you're infectious to be about. You know, you don't, I find it very difficult to be around people who are very, you know, kind of life happens to me and I have no control over it. And I understand that, you know, that a lot of that is brought up from, you know, how, whatever your childhood was. And a lot of that is a learned behavior. And it is, you know, it's challenging to change it, but it can be changed. And I think everyone's got a responsibility for themselves to live a joyful life, because imagine if we all walked around in states of joy, obviously not all the time, and you know, you're still gonna have bad days, but if you lived your life in joy, lived your absolute best life the majority of the time, we'd have like world peace. Do you know, like everything would just resolve. It's down to that individual action, isn't it? And people, and it's, I just genuinely think that's why people need coaching and help, because I don't think they know how to do it. Because who's genuinely going to go, well, I don't want to live my best life, I don't want to be joyful, but I think people just don't necessarily know how to do that.
Well, so the other thing that you said that I think is really, really important is you talked about emotion. And, you know, when you think about what do I want, what's my vision, what, you know, where am I trying to get to, what's my North Star, right? Talk about, you know, your North Star, you know, what's guiding you. The only way that that's going to be a driving force in your life, and the only way that that is going to call you forward and really, you know, draw you towards something, is if you're emotionally connected to it. So, you know, I talk about a plan versus a vision, right? And a plan, you're not usually emotionally connected to a plan. A plan is very you know, objective, and you know, here's the steps you need to take, and what's the status, you know.
Very methodical.
And don't get me wrong, there's definitely a place for that, and we need them. But vision is different, because vision is something that you are absolutely emotionally connected to, and it should be emotionally charged, because you want to create a vision for yourself, for your life, to enable you to create your best life in a way that you are going to want to. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, actually. You want to be able to gallop towards it, right? So if I said to you, Julie, right, what are you galloping towards?
It's
what would you say? Like, what would you say? What are you galloping towards?
I am galloping towards spending the majority of my time with joyful people. That is genuinely what I want to do. And I think that is what I am creating in my business, because I'm only marketing to people that are open to, not to people that necessarily know how to do it, but people that are open to that, people that appeals to, and it has to light you up. I think exactly what you're talking about there. You have to be able to go, I can visualize that in the future, and imagine being somewhere where most people most of the time take responsibility for their own joy. So it's not like, I love helping people with that, but once people know how to do it, imagine if they just did it like that. That's why, you know, Gail, that one of the things that I spend most of my money on when we're not in a big lockdown situation is going to Walt Disney World, right? And the reason, as an adult, and I went there, I've taken my kids, but I went there long before I had kids. I went there on my honeymoon, and I would go back next year if my kids didn't want to go. And the reason that I love it's only occurred to me the other day when I was talking to somebody, is Disney take care of the joy for you. They've got your back, so there's no effort. So when you go in, there's joyful smells and joyful sounds and joyful sights, and everything's joyful. And I love feeling that. And sometimes I feel that I've got 2 teenage boys, there's not a lot of inbuilt joy there. So sometimes I feel like there's quite a lot of effort to pull joy out of people. And I think once you understand how to do it, it then becomes nice and self-perpetuating for people. So, I'm happy to do it. But see in Disney, it's nearly like falling back into somebody else holding your joy. And that's why I love it so much, because I still get the feeling without any of the effort nearly.
Yeah.
So.
But I think though, when there's effort, right? Like if you've got a clear vision that you're emotionally connected to, that's calling you forward, I'm not saying it should be effortless, but there should be other emotions in there other than, gosh, this is hard work. It should be
absolutely
hard work, but gosh, it's so exciting, and I'm full of anticipation, and I can't wait to get there, and I'm itching to get out of bed every morning because I know like I'm on this path, and I'm I can't wait to get there, right? That like this whole thing of I am galloping towards this vision that I've created for myself, because it's amazing. Right? And how many people take the time and the effort, because it is work that you need to do on yourself, the inner work that you need to do in order to create this. But how many people do it? Like, how many people take the time to really invest on them and in themselves in order to to be able to create something that they're going to be supercharged about, and that's going to excite them, and they're going to be galloping towards. And I would have never done that until I had learned all the things that I've learned in later life. But if I had known that 20 years ago, I kind of think, gosh, how different would my life had been.
I know, absolutely. That's why I feel I've got a real kind of responsibility with the kids now, because they're just about you to go out into the world. And in my day, that was, you need to choose a career, you need to get a job, you need to decide. And actually, the world has, even before coronavirus, the world has changed. So you don't need to get a job anymore. You can create a job. You can, if you can work out what your talents are and when you're in flow, what you love spending your time doing, and you can monetize that as a job. So for my kids, that's playing video games. We're still trying to work out, but people do it, don't they? Like, people, YouTubers all, make money on doing that. So there's more than that. But I think if you really get your head around that, as opposed to when I went out into the world of work, it was very much, you got a job for life. So you went into the civil service, or you went into the banking industry, or, you went to a good corporate company, and that would be you, and you would learn a lot there. And that's what I did. And I did learn a lot. It's not that I didn't. I met some amazing people, and there were some great things about that. But I didn't spend enough of my day in joy and in flow for me to really I wouldn't have described myself as living my best life then. And like a lot of people, I think being made redundant was fortunate, because then I'm able to go, okay, I'm not sure whether I would have ever had the courage to walk away from that salary and all the benefits that went with working in financial services to just nothing. But it is the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I went back to scratch, and I went, okay, how do I now, if I've got to do something to earn money, how do I work out, first of all, what's going to make me want to bounce out of bed on a Monday morning, and then monetize that, because you can make money out of anything. So there's no need to go down any sort of traditional route. The world has changed. Everything is just up for grabs now.
Yeah, but it's funny, because when you think about the journeys that we've both been on, because you were made redundant, and that was a catalyst for you to kind of create what you've created now. Whereas I did the whole corporate thing.
You did,
and I had the big corporate job. I had the big salary. I had all the perks, and all the stress that goes with it. Like, I did all that, and I didn't get made redundant. Like,
I walked away.
I walked away, and like, you know, that was like, if I hadn't had vision, values, purpose,
Yes.
if I didn't know and understand where I get in my own way and what you know, my inner critic and the saboteur and how all that works, I would never, I'd probably still be there. I'd probably still be there miserable, you know,
Yeah.
doing a job that paid big money and afforded me a fantastic lifestyle, but made me miserable at the same time.
Yeah, at what expense? Or you would have probably jumped out of that and into another version of that, because there's a safety, isn't there, in that? There's I remember when we were getting married, we went, Neil, my husband, and I went to see a guy who hired wedding cars. And he sat us down, and I think he felt that it was his responsibility to give a little pep talk to the couple that were going to be married. And I remember him asking us what we did. And at the time, I was a financial advisor. That was a long time ago. And my husband was a factory manager. And he said to us, okay, he said, the one piece of advice, so he was an older gentleman, he said, the one piece of advice I'm going to give to you is, don't worship at the altar of security. He said, those all sound like fine jobs, but you don't need to do that. You've got your whole life ahead of you. You do not need to continue in those jobs. Now, we came away and went, what a weirdo. Like, honestly, we were just like, who's going to walk? I mean, how can we afford? We were trying to get a mortgage, and who's going to walk away from the job? But with hindsight, what a fantastic piece of advice. And I think you do have to have your own experiences and your own learnings first. But yeah, I mean, life is too short, and I see so many people that don't create their lives, and so many people that I know that are still in big corporations because they get a decent salary, they have fabulous benefits, and they're only now X years from retirement. So how can you walk away from that? But if you don't walk away from that, you spend a life, a career that's not living your best life, unless you.
But the other big thing about that, so you talk about, you know, advice that you got when you're getting married, that took me straight back to, so when I was first starting out, so young, naive, you know, didn't know anything about anything. I had a degree behind me that was, you know, as much good as no good, really, because it was a degree in social and economic history, and it's like, you know, I've never ever used that in my anything that I've done for work, like, since I got that. So anyway, so I was in you know, my first job. And for some reason, somebody spotted me in the company that I was working in, and I got, you know, pushed out in front of the L&D guy who was up from London, had a chat with him, and the next thing I find myself on a management development program, as they were called in those days. This is going back.
Yeah.
And so I'm on this program, you know, for 12 months, completely out of my depth. I was the youngest person in the room. I wasn't managing anybody. Everybody else had teams and titles and positions. And, you know, I really felt like a duck or a fish out of water. But anyway, I persevered and I got through it and I survived. And I remember at the very end of the program, when we were doing like the final day wrap up, the guy who had facilitated the program over the 12 months was kind of doing, you know, the sort of round table and, you know, giving a little bit of, you know, here's my thing for you, and kind of personalizing it for each person around the room. And so when he came to me, and, you know, at the time I thought, well, you couldn't think of anything better to say. However, at the time, what he said to me was, Gail, just be yourself. Right? That was what he said to me, just be yourself.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, just be yourself. That's the last thing I'm going to be doing right now, and amongst all these amazing people, you know, and then there's me. You know, at that point, it was very much, you know, try and fit in, be like everybody else. You know, you learn behavior that's accepted, especially in the corporate environment. And it's so funny now, all these years later. It's the thing that I tell everybody. You know, a big thing for me is authenticity. It's like, if you have to be yourself. That, you know, you're hired for the skills that only you have, and for the strengths that only you have, and, you know, your unique talents, skills, and abilities. Just be yourself. Yeah. And I would say, you know, if you're going to live your best life has to be about you being who you are and stepping into that and embracing that and owning it. Like, you know, figuring out what that is and truly stepping into it and owning it. So
And that I couldn't agree more. And I think that's everybody. I would describe that as everybody's gift. So everybody has a gift that has
and
to be right
everybody's able to
inside
do
them.
that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it can be hard to see because what you find really easy, other people find really hard. So it's hard for you to go, well, I'm really good at this, because you think it's easy. You think everybody must be good at this. And it's really getting that understanding that we are all different, and we all do have the different talents and the different gift. And someone will pay you money to do the thing that you're really good at because they're terrible at it, and vice versa. And that's how we all work together as a community, as a society, as a world. But your responsibility and your job in life is to find out what that is, find out what that gift is, so that you can use it to live your best life.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anyway,
Let's go, Julie.
I know it was really nice to see you, Gail.
Why have we been here for 25 minutes?
I know. Every
Good to see you as well, and we will definitely catch up really soon.
Yeah, definitely. Take care, Gail. Nice chat.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.